able to talk very loudly today, so sorry if you can't even hear me. I'm a little hoarse. Okay, who here is in a non-tech, non-programming job right now? Okay, and how many of you are studying right now to be able? Okay, great. This is just for you. So who am I? I'm Lena. I used to be a designer for about 10 years. And about 2 years ago, I transitioned, and right now I'm a JavaScript developer at a company called Automattic. Quick plug, we're hiring, so, oops, sorry. We're always hiring, so check us out if you're interested. So how did I get here? This is what I was paid to do. There's a little overlap here because I was a freelancer, but basically it's around that time that I transitioned. I did both design and development. And from this year, I finally got to get a full-time job doing just development. But, so why did I even get hired? Did somebody hire a 30-year-old with no experience? No, this is not the full picture. This is what I was actually doing. For a long time, I was developing just for fun. And before I talk about that, let's talk about an uncomfortable subject first. Basically, your earning power is a function of time. You start from the bottom and you build up your skills. Sorry. And while that's going to be influenced by many factors, like your motivation, how efficient you are at learning, and talent, or whatever that is, it's more or less a function of time. So the thing about changing careers is you have this nice little trajectory here. You start from the bottom, now you're killing it, and you're making money, right? But what happens when you switch? You kind of have to start over again. What was all that time wasted? And you know, what would have happened if I just kept going with my old career? And that drop right there in the middle, that is seriously scary. I mean, I admire the people who can just quit and bite the bullet and go, but honestly, that's not me. And I'm sure a lot of you are like this. Maybe you have obligations like family, children, or student loans, you know? And maybe you're not sure if you have what it takes. So how do you transition smoothly? For me, in hindsight, it was to build up as much skill and experience before leaving my old career. What this means is that you get to prepare yourself before the switch so you can enter at a higher level. And the idea is to make that drop as small as possible, because you know, who knows, depending on what your old career was, maybe you could enter at a higher level than you left off. So, but how do we even do that? How do we build these skills? Well, first of all, you could read. Yeah, that's kind of obvious. And you could work through tutorials. But on top of that, you're going to need real experience. As real as you can get without actually having a full-time development job. And be careful because tutorials are not really real experience. So what do we build, and how do I find the time to do that? You know? Well, the good news is software development skills can be used to solve many different kinds of problems. I'm not going to say every problem, but a lot of problems. And I bet there are a lot of problems that in your life that are just waiting to be solved. So solve them. As long as you're solving those real problems, you won't be wasting your time working on imaginary projects just for practice. And the solutions you build will make your life easier in a really tangible way. So my advice is to look for the problems in your everyday life. The good thing about real problems is that they come in different sizes. So sometimes it's a small inefficiency in your life that can be solved by one-liner. And for some problems, you're going to need something like a full-blown web app, and that's okay. So whether you have 10 minutes or 10 hours to work, there's always something real you can build. So what kinds of problems? Things like repetitive actions, bad user interfaces, we've all encountered them, and mentally draining tasks. So heighten your sensitivity to these things and fix them with your custom-made tools and hacks. And this is a great side effect. Once you write code that you'll be actually using in your everyday life, you're going to have to maintain that code. So maybe you encounter a bug, maybe an API changes, or maybe your needs change. And when you come back to your code you wrote like 6 months ago, and that if that code is a piece of crap, you're going to suffer the consequences. So you'll learn to do better next time. And that means things like versioning, writing readable code, and maintaining a manageable structure. And here are some ideas to get you started. These are some really casual ways to build coding experience in your everyday life. So things like Google Apps Script, Excel macros, basically any kind of apps you use for your work. In my case, since I was a designer, I did a lot of scripting for Adobe apps. And the great thing about this is you actually get to be more productive in your actual job. And which means you get more free time or more money. And in a sense, you're being paid to code. So that's great. And your coworkers are going to think you're a wizard. And another thing is, if you're on a Mac, AppleScript is also a fun one. For those of you who don't know, AppleScript is a way to script these controllable Mac applications like Mail or Calendar or iTunes. And now there's even a thing called JXA where you can do similar stuff but in JavaScript. So it's a really easy way to learn and a great way to automate your daily tasks. Okay, so how many of you have heard of regular expressions? Okay, great. So this is the one thing I recommend even non-coders to learn, because regular expressions is like an advanced way to do find and replace on text. And for example, this cryptic sequence right there, it matches all the multiple spaces between a period and a capital letter. And it's kind of magic. So text is everywhere, and this skill is going to help you in any kind of job. And lastly, this is one of my favorites. Browser scripting is where you get to write JavaScript to alter the looks or the behavior of websites. A lot of websites really annoy me, so I've written dozens of scripts to fix them. And it's also a good chance to peek under the hood of the websites other people have made. Okay, so what's the takeaway here? As long as you're solving real problems, that time you spent will never go to waste. The code you write will make your life easier. And that's what coding's all about. So, and all that everyday experience is going to help you transition as smoothly as possible. Thank you and good luck.